able to find something early on. It does feel like the team fighting composition that DCG have brought out should just really take over.
And how do we feel, I guess, about this bot matchup? Because I think that you're expecting Zeri and the Rakan to kind of, Mission forced to flash very early. And that's actually a big deal because that makes mid a lot more gankable. It will be that Shiv LeBlanc coming through. Interestingly, has gone for the absolute focus Gathering Storm in the secondaries. So this, once again, is a patch where DMAT is now not as valuable because you still can't one-shot the creeps. But then you'd often see the LeBlancs going for those early game runes, right? You take the Mana Flow, you take the Scorch. But going for scaling, it's an interesting choice.
Absolutely. And Hanabi apexing his 250 games here in the PCS, doing it in playoffs. Obviously, pretty good career out of him, ultimately. I think, for me, the most exciting thing to watch might even be this top lane to see how the Renekton and Aatrox interact these days. Because I know in the past, it was Renekton again. It's kind of similar to the Jax lane, where the Aatrox can find things ultra early in the lane phase, but Renekton takes over around 6, and then Aatrox will scale better. But we'll have to see.
I wonder which build he goes for as well, because we have seen a lot of the Gore Drinker Aatrox, but I think the Duskblade is better.
Yeah, I think Korea exclusively plays Duskblade, while NA has played a lot of the Gore Drinker. And I think ultimately the Duskblade has looked stronger. I think the item is just extremely overpowered at the moment, so it makes a lot of sense to go for that. Jungler's starting same side of the map, going to be heading towards that bot lane. Obviously pretty volatile. I think there is the option for Kevy to look for something mid with Mission not having flash, and in fact I feel like he has to try and punish that in some way to give Kiz some breathing room in the lane.
See in the bot lane that Zeri has gone for the cull start against Xayah. Saw Zeri punishing the Xayah early on yesterday. We'll see if the same happens again.
Yeah, it could be possible. It's hard to say how much was just the Betty gap yesterday, you know? Betty on the Zeri was pretty filthy, you have to say, but it looks like they are getting prio in that bot lane. Sort of to be expected, I think. Blitzcrank not too threatening, at least early on.
Especially with that flash gone level 1.
Yeah, big trade there.
Yeah, big trade. They do hit 2, importantly, so there is going to be the route that can come out. Actually, maybe not. Depends what Ray's started, but he should have had the ability to use that Blade Caller.
With both junglers around bot, though, you got to be careful losing too much HP, and I kind of like what Mission's done mid. He hasn't looked to really hard push the lane. He's kept it nice and close to his tower, which makes a lot of sense, gives him the ability to harass LeBlanc, and of course keeps him safe from any of those ganks.
Panther having a pretty good time up there in the top lane.
Well, that bot wave is shoved in. Riscada sitting at perfect CS, I think.
Yeah, he is, and with that, he is at a lead over Raze on the Xayah, at least for now. You see, could change in the future. It does become pretty easy for Xayah to last hit, but Static Shiv also makes the same for Zeri True. And they actually did recall.
Yeah,
so they might lose a minion here because Xayah, probably the best AD carry in the game at pushing this early on.
And I think that recall might even cost them the Scuttle Crab, because they did have priority in the bot side, but with that Cheetah recall coming out of Cascada, the priority is then lost. And that's going to give that over. Now, Hana can cross to the top grab, and I think he will be able to get it. There was a lot of tempo used there on the bot side for Kevy to pick that one up. So all things considered, feels pretty even still.
Because they recalled, is going to opt into using that teleport here to get back into the mid lane. Going to be matched by Mission.
Oh, look at that. He's got the Corrupting Pot, the Doran's Ring, and the Dark Seal.
Yeah.
He is playing for the laning phase.
Do you think we're going to see the Shadow Flame?
Well, I don't think so. Not this game. I think that there's a lot of kind of off AP damage from pretty much everyone else on your team that's not Aatrox. So I wouldn't think so. See, though. Double pinks around mid, and Mission still does not have flash, and he knows. I mean, he's being very careful on this wave. This is their window. He just has to wait for Orca to come, who is sprinting mid. Question is, will he get here in time? Looks like he will, unless Mission dies in the next 5 seconds. I think he'll be fine. And maybe this is a potential for a counter gank.
And Orca has not made it here yet. Chain will land as well as that hook, and Kevy arrives, but there's not going to be anything found off it. Mission staying pretty high in health as well. I like Chiefs' proactivity, trying to find something, but unfortunately does not result in anything for them.
No, and I think that will most likely be the window just over. Mission will have his flash up soon enough, but admittedly did take a little bit of damage there. That's going to make his lane just a tad more difficult. He has itemized very heavily for the early game though, so probably will win out in the trades, and Orca does get that last auto.
Oh, actually going to get stunned up by the permafrost. Kize in the area. but it's a little bit too risky with Hana nearby to continue chasing on. I like it though. Chiefs certainly putting up a fight here in the early stages of the game.
Alaric will just come mid, probably gobble up this cannon, help Kize go for a bit of an easier reset. So you'd have to say, at least some signs of life for sure in the early game. You really do feel like if you can beat DCG early, that would be really, really good. And that mid wave does get frozen, pretty annoying. First you support mains.
Yeah, this is actually pretty annoying, especially because now that Mission has his flash, he is going to be able to play a bit more aggressively against the LeBlanc. LeBlanc obviously hitting 6 means should be ultimately safe, but you can just continuously poke away at her health bar and make her lane a little bit more miserable. The bot side though, CS has ultimately somewhat evened out. Bot side roaming up here, looking mid perhaps. There is a ward in that river bush that'll allow Mission to spot anything if Blitzcrank chooses to go up there. They have absolute control over this dragon though, and with a minute 30 until the Herald, if it were to be started up right now, they might be able to have the tempo for trying for both, but Jungler's meeting this top side means not likely to happen. In fact, first fight might even just be either happening over Rift Herald or a trade. Zeri comes forward, uses that ult. It's a 6th level advantage here. Cascada trying to find the damage onto Ray. He's going to force out that flash, and a lot of damage as well. Even continuing on forward with that lethal tempo proccing. It's actually turned around up on the top side though. Hanabi going to have to flash away over that wall. Dominus used though here for the Renekton. So it's a pretty big trade. Kize and Kiwi also looking for Hana now as Mission finally arrives to this team fight through that mid lane. Scuttlecrab secured for Team Chiefs, and they're actually going over. They're looking now for Hanabi. This could be first blood. It is Bypanther picking that one up for himself, and he might not be done as he's looking to Hana, who will use that Twisted Advance onto the blue buff. Stacking up this Permafrost once again. Stun comes through. Bypanther will have his stun available for him soon, but not before Hana flashes over the wall. Great start for Chiefs. It's 500 gold in their pocket, and Bypanther at a lead.
You have to say, extremely greedy there for DCG. They got the Dominus out, and I think with that, that probably would have meant they just secure the first Herald. But they decided, try and go for a bit more. They don't wait out the Dominus, and unfortunately, feels like you played right in the Chiefs' hands there, and they pick up first blood.
Yeah, some great proactivity from the Chiefs there. Great to see them using that Sejuani and Renekton to get that early kill on the Aatrox.
It is nice, I think, especially because a lot of the time in the PCS, we don't see the Sedge Renekton used very well. You often see this Renekton just hard weak-sided for a long time. And when we take another look at this, I really think that if DCG just leave, that Dominus will be down for when Herald spawns, and it's going to be a very easy fight. But deciding to go for this, when you don't have 6 on your Maokai, when this is a just full Fury Renekton, I really don't think it's a fight that you're going to win, especially when hitting Orianna against 3 champs with dashes, it's going to be so hard.
Oh, picture in picture, there's another battle going on. It's Orca.
Oh, wow,
Does
they're
get
still
stunned
going
up.
for
Oh,
this.
yeah, Herald's going off. Dominus not available, importantly, here for Bypanther. He does teleport in, though, but it might be a little bit too late. This should be the Herald secured for DCG. Ooh. In fact, it will be. And a 4-man Shockwave, but the flash follow. Chiefs get Shockwave, but still keep going. And now it's Cascada. He pops it ult, and he's looking for whatever he can find. Raze might just be dead. He is going to be, and Cascada continuing on forward, looking for Kevy. And it's a disaster fight there. DCG finding 2 off the massive Shockwave there from Mission.
I think that's what we call a 3,000 elo Shockwave, Ben.
Yeah.
That was pretty crazy. They are going to grab some plates here in the mid lane. Getting the team fight victory and getting the Herald and plates on top of it feels like a pretty big gold swing, especially when you were kind of expecting to be a bit weaker on the top side after that early fight. But I guess just so much had been invested already by Chiefs that they're able to fight it. And I think perhaps most importantly out of all of that, Cascada is getting very ahead now. He's got a kill to his name, and he had already gotten Raze Flash in the 2v2 before. Some big trades in mids now. CS lead is in Kize's favor. Feels like a lot of that probably from just the insane amount of pressure that Chiefs have put towards mid. And admittedly, they will grab a dragon for themselves here, which is decent. I mean, it's going to allow them a bit more time to scale if they need it, which could be good for the LeBlanc, but we'll get to see it again. And it feels like this Nature's Grasp sets it up so well.
Yeah.
And just so much damage comes through. And I really like that Mission went for it, even if there wasn't a guarantee of follow-up, just for the poke. But then you see all the members coming through. And I think these are just perfect fights, really, for Zeri. When so much has been used already, just get to chew through them at the end, really.
Coming back to live, though. What's that?
Shiv for Cascada.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a big deal. Doesn't even have that cull fully fully evolved yet, or fully cashed in, I suppose. And it is, I mean, that means things are a lot harder now for Chiefs. Obviously, losing that, I think, off of maybe a little bit of miscommunication. BioPanther not being there, and honestly not close at all to being there, means that ultimately the person who picked up that first blood and has found so much power in this early game wasn't going to be there. So you've actually lost so much, and then no flash on Raze means he's just going to be confirmed, especially after what was a massive Nature's Grasp and Shockwave from Mission.
Okay, I have a potentially worrying trend. How are you feeling about Mission going towards the Ludens rather than the Leandries? Feels like there's a lot of health on the side of Chiefs.
Yeah. I mean, if he is able to find the LeBlanc, which feels almost impossible, or the Xayah, which again feels almost impossible, then he can find value from it. But it does feel like for the majority of skirmishes, he's probably just thrown out his ball and harassing the Sejuani and Renekton. So I feel quite negatively would be my answer there to you.
I agree with you there, Ben. I would really like to see the Leandries there. That Ludens really only has value against the Xayah, and with some good reactions, we'd probably like to see her dodging that Shockwave anyway.
You would think so. I think there is potential, you know, even if you can just hit a QW poke on Xayah, it does deal quite a lot of damage, of course, especially if you do go for that Ludens, so we'll see if it pays off, I suppose. It definitely does fit Mission, though, just getting the more Magic Pen early makes a lot of sense.
As much damage
yeah, pretty
by
much
the 14-minute mark as humanly possible. And, I mean, you're seeing the damage it does there to Kisei. Obviously, it's not fully upgraded, but with more AP that you get through the build items, certainly landing some poke, that means a lot.
When this could be problematic for Chiefs bot lane, they want to try to defend this tower.
The Storm available, won't actually have to use it, dodges out of that Grand Entrance, and Aladoric's now here. Orca will be caught up, and Dre's trying to find as much damage as possible. Going to have to use that Featherstorm to get out of Zeri's damage, but it should be Aladoric going down here as Kiwi and Kisei slowly make their way down. Orca pretty low, but it is going to be a 3v4 ultimately if they want to commit to it, which feels a bit bad to try and attempt, but it is ultimately there. DCG picking themselves up another kill. It's another kill onto Kriskada's Zeri.
I do. And it feels like it's just off the back, really, of the mid-jungle priority they had there. Hana walked across mid, which forced Kisei to give up just a bit of that prio, and that's what allowed DCG to go for that 4-man on bot. And it's Kriskada who really reaps the rewards. Grabs himself a second kill. A lot of plates on that bot tower. And I hope we see player gold because he feels just, speaking, asking ye shall receive. Look at that. He's up 2,000 gold.
Yeah, if not for him, really, it feels like Chiefs are in a pretty good position, but now you don't have really the tools to deal with him. Aladog looking like he might be caught out for the third time. Does have flash to get away from this instant, but an important summoner spell nonetheless now taken away from the Blitzcrank.
Back on your earlier point, Shock, that Aatrox is going for the lethality build we talked about.
Oh, okay. I'm a fan. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how it goes, really.
Well, I think it just means it's so easy to get a reset because you do so much damage if you're able to land any of those empowered Qs.
Especially when your team's ahead, I think, as well. Even though Hanabi's not ahead, it feels like the rest of DCG definitely in a good spot right now. And how bad, I think, do you feel as a Blitzcrank here when you're just on the Moby boots and you know you're going to be on pretty much these items for a lot of the rest of the game? It's just really hard to get gold at this point, especially when you are falling behind. Chiefs, they're going to need some team fight wins.
Luden's completed.
Yeah, it's a big pickup. I wonder, do you think he's respectful enough to go for the Mercs? Or does he just go Sorks? The Mission Classic.
He probably goes Mercs, I think.
No,
I think it's too.
That's my mission.
No, it's too hard to not go Mercs against Sejuani, Renekton, and LeBlanc.
He doesn't play by the rules.
That's true. Do you ever think there's a world where he's picked up the Ludens to try and match the wave clear that comes through from the static shiv? At least somewhat?
I'd be surprised. I think maybe on other champs, but not... Ooh,
Hanabi using all 3 Qs. He's gonna find a Croc that's waiting eagerly in that bush. Aladok in the area too. Hanabi, though, might not be long for this world as he's trying to kite away. Won't land on that second Q. And Aladok in the area should confirm the knock-up. The Infernal Chains won't CC BioPanther at all. And it's a second kill on the Croc in the top.
You do wonder a little bit what Hanabi is doing there. I guess he thought it was a reset that had come out from BioPanther. And with that, they are going to be able to look towards that Herald. Kisei, he needs to try to defend this tower.
This feels a bit scary. Grand Engines comes through as well as the quickness. Kisei now trying to run. Flash will be answered. And it should be a kill. Oh my goodness, he almost turns it around. But it is the kill there, found for Mission. It costs Kisei his flash and a lot more in tempo. Should be the tower going down. On the backside though, Chiefs picking up that Herald off both the tempo used bot as well as that solo kill found up top there by Panther.
Well, they got the tower, and I think the gold lead, it does now extend a bit further into DCG's favor, but there is a little bit kind of waiting in Kevy's inventory with that Herald picked up, of course. And Mission, he's not even going to get tier 2 boots, as now he's getting a rod.
What do we think it is?
Will it be a Shadow Flame, or does he just go straight Death Cap?
I think, well, I guess so, but with
I think
the
we'll see the
Ludens,
Shadow Flame here.
I think it'll be the Shadow Flame too. I think the Ludens suggest he's just trying to get this done early. We'll see, though. I think a crucial thing now for Chiefs to look towards is trying to have a fight around this Renekton, although a fight breaks out and is somewhat around the Renekton. It's going to be ultimately a lot of CC found, and Chris Carter flashing in is going to have to use that cleanse. The Permafrost not landing on him, and BioPanther, where is he? We need this Croc to be in the area. Here he comes, he finds a shutdown. That's another kill found for BioPanther, shutdown onto Chris Carter, and this Renekton's quickly getting out of hand. We see finally a fight with the Renekton. They get 2 kills there. 4 none in return.
Very important pickup there for the Chiefs. They managed to, I think, get Kriskata's shutdown. And importantly, Kriskata did not have the Navori that fight. He picked it up just now. And 4-0 on BioPanther's Renekton. I think it was a fight that DCG, perhaps they could have won if they executed better. I think the Orianna ult did not pick up anyone, or at least no one of value. And of course, Zeri overextending. But still, you're very happy with that. Let's take a look. Let's see what happened. Because I feel like, you know, initial Nature's Grass coming through. Everything's looking fine at this point. Oriole, yeah, hits no one. And then Kriskata, did he flash onto the blast cone? Yeah. I'm not too sure.
Gaming.
He ends in way too deep. And you can see here, the fight now is so split. No ults left. DCG kind of just have to run away.
You see the Renekton TP down the bottom as BioPanther comes up to cut off the escape from DCG there.
Yeah, picking up Orca at the start, ending up finding Kriskata as well. And I think importantly, that fight, there was no World Eater available for Hanabi on this Aatrox, so it was just pretty pathetic, really, all things considered. You really need that Aatrox ult to be able to do anything, especially at this stage of the game.
But after that fight, we have a big Crocodile in the top lane now.
He's 4-0, and I think that using the Renekton kind of as a bridge to allow the LeBlanc and Xayah to scale up feels pretty good, because the rest of DCG, honestly, is doing really well for themselves.
It's the Sorks, by the way.
Oh, it is the Sorks. I knew he wouldn't let me down.
He's a sorcerer.
This guy really does just build as based as possible.
Yeah, he wants to win his 1v1. I think importantly, though, the build that is being put out here by Mission might actually make their late game slightly weaker. As we see a fight break out, Nature's Grasp used early. It's going to be the Dominus in response. Teleport coming through here for Kize up on that top side, but Aladoric goes down nice and early. Kivy trying to get away. He has that Radiant Virtue, healing him up very, very slightly. Hanabi, though, on the chase, will commit that World Eater. Is he going to be able to find Kivy with the Q? It feels like he will. He's going to commit the Flash as well. Reset found there for Hanabi on this Aatrox. And a big fight there. 2 found for the side of DCG.
You do wonder a little bit what Chiefs are doing there. I think they were just trying to get a pick in the river, but as Tim said before, you've got this really strong Renekton after that previous fight, so having any fights without the Renekton in it just always feels like a mistake. I'm a little surprised that Sejuani isn't just moving towards that bot side, trying to extend the lead of the Renekton even further. Instead, they opt into a fight without that strong member, and they do kind of fall apart as a result.
And I think ultimately the fight was for nothing too. There was no objective on the map to be taken, but they opted into it and didn't go so well.
We also saw again the Chiefs clumping into that shockwave.
Oh, that's the second time they've done that. They're just trying to get close to the homies.
Yeah, it will be the Shadow Flame. He's got the alternator there, so it won't be the Rabadons.
It will be eventually, though.
It has to be. Mission's a man of the people. And 30 seconds on this next dragon here. Have to see, are we going to fight it? I feel like both teams are pretty willing to fight this. You've got the Renekton nearby, and he is 4-0. At the same time, though, it is a 2-item Zeri compared to only 1.5 for Xayah. So I think this could be a very big make or break fight. And it starts off already.
It starts off really early. Orca getting quite low. There's a lot of ults used. Nature's Grasp will not find anyone at least important at the start. Quickness, Grand Entrance will land here onto Kevi, who will be going down. It's Kriskata who picks up that one. And now it's a 4v5. I don't think Chiefs are going to want to contest this, and it should be second dragon now afforded to DCG.
Yep, picked up there.
Yeah, just another fight where the Chiefs didn't have their Renekton quite there at the start of the fight, and they found themselves running away. The fight really over before it even started.
Unfortunate, really. We'll have to see. I don't know if we'll get a replay, but I'm not sure how Kevy ended up
We'll get a
so far
pause.
in. Yeah, the Pause Championship Series.
I will say, been a whole lot less pauses in the summer split than it has been.
Since the last one.
But I think, taking a look at the game state, how do you guys feel? Because it feels like, really, you cannot fight if you're Chiefs if you don't have Renekton pretty much starting it by finding a pick or a flank somewhere. And at the moment, the only times we've seen him with a flank, they've won the team fight. And other than that, it's been a whole lot of nothing, really.
I think they really have to try and force something in the next few minutes. Find a big fight with your Renekton before this game kind of goes out of control.
I think I have to agree. I really visualize the only way Chiefs win a fight at this point of flash Renekton W on Zeri, right?
Which always
and
happens at some stage.
I'm pretty sure. So it's going to make it a lot harder because I do think that the Orianna Zeri is, well, as the game goes on, it becomes harder and harder to deal with, especially because the only strong member you have right now is Renekton. You know, if you've got a very strong Xayah here, you've got a very fed LeBlanc, then maybe you can deal with these carries. But it feels like, and something we saw yesterday, if Cryscata gets that lifesteal, which he's now building towards, he's got the Vamp Scepter, before LeBlanc gets relevant items, the LeBlanc ends up just being a complete non-factor, which is a very real risk at this point. Feels like it is just Biopanther against the world.
Yeah. I think importantly as well, you can see it on your screens, Cryscata is 2 levels up on Raze. So the power that you're going to get from that Zeri when compared to Raze, both in levels and items, is really important. And ultimately it does feel like Biopanther's going to have to find some incredible flank, which admittedly, we often do see Renektons do at least once in a game. And it can only just take one and enough goal coming through. But we see a fight coming up. Nature's Grasp will be used. Dominus is the answer. Biopanther's trying to live. He's actually healing up quite a lot. But with Cryscata now joining the fray, he's going to pick himself up that kill. It's another shutdown going on to Cryscata's Zeri. He's 4-1-1 now. And that's the opposite of what you'd want to happen.
It is, especially because that shutdown, you know, like you said, going over to Cryscata feels really bad. And I think problem is the rest of the Chiefs lineup, they aren't strong enough to force anything on the other side of the map. You see that top tier 1 doesn't even drop. There was no Baron looked at just because the damage isn't there yet. And so by being caught on the bot side, there's no punishment that can be traded on the other side. Because he was trying to get aggressive in the side, and admittedly has that CS lead, which you feel like is a given on the static LeBlanc, but hasn't found any impact in recent fights. Definitely was having impact in those earlier ones, but I think it's becoming harder and harder. You know, especially, again, look at Cryscata's inventory. Vamp Scepter and the stopwatch, as well as both sums up. He just feels unkillable.
Yeah. Definitely does feel like that. And I think, really, there's no way for Chiefs to fight now. Unless, again, Biopanther finds a flank. And maybe you just have to wait until Raze can hit that Navori quick blades. Because at this stage, it does feel like the Xayah is going to be a bit of a non-factor. Maybe that 2-item spike can mean enough. But ultimately, he hasn't recalled in a long time. And maybe he's just not trying to recall until he gets it.
It might be, yeah.
So you have to hope he's close, because you can see Cryscata's items. He's almost at 3. You have to hope that Raze is now almost at his 2nd.
We have 2.5 minutes till that next dragon now. I really hope that Raze sees that next item. I think Chiefs' window is really closing with this gold lead ballooned out to 6K now.
Never math in public, as they say.
That's
it is the Navori now picked up for Raze. So 2 minutes away from that drag. At least has it in time. You do wonder, though, if Cryscata picks up the BT before then. I think he has the Vamp and the BF sword.
He did,
so
yeah.
That's going to be really scary for the Chiefs.
It will be, especially for Kizé, right? Because who else can you really look for? You can poke the Orianna, but with the shield is going to be able to at least weather some of that. And DCG, they're trying to push their vision pretty deep into the top side. They know that they could just be happy giving over a drag and start up the Baron. They certainly have the DPS for it.
And Raze has his Navori. Now, it almost... I mean, it's so hard now to play against Cryscata. Like, maybe Elador can land a miracle hook, but with it going down there and not connecting onto Orca, have to wait for the next cooldown of that ability to come back up. And a lot of control over this top side jungle as well as the Baron means that at any given time, you have to be worried as the side of Chiefs that DCG have started it.
And 20 from that next drag. I will be interested to see if DCG try and trade this, just go for the Baron and give over the drag. I feel like they honestly don't need to, though. They just win the team fights too hard at the moment. Especially because I think when you're behind, it's so hard for Blitzcrank to find any sort of pick, you know, unless you can get some sort of flash. But without any vision control, it just makes it a lot harder. And you have to feel, if it goes just to a straight-up 5v5, the likes of the Orianna Rakan going to be finding it so much easier to execute on their team fight compared to something like the LeBlanc and Blitzcrank, where they need to make picks, they need to find poke.
Some curious itemization coming out of the Aatrox here. He's gone for the second item, Sterix.
Ooh.
It's something we don't see very often. Not a lot of HP behind that item.
Yeah, it's a little strange.
I mean, I guess maybe he's just trying to last as long as he can.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Maybe it's just an adaptation for kind of the state he's found himself in. Has to be able to live long enough to get one of those resets. Now, it is the BT picked up for Cruscata, only 20 seconds away from the next drag. A full item advantage on the AD carry. And Chiefs, they're moving towards the top side. So I think they're going to give this drag and try trade some gold. And gold is what they desperately need. Cruscata 3,000 ahead of his opponent there. And also, perhaps somewhat surprisingly, Mission is up almost a K over Kize, which you really don't expect, I think, from the LeBlanc. Now, it is just the kills and assists that are kind of enabling that. Picks up some gold there on the top tower, much needed. Needs to get towards that third item, and even then, you feel like it might not be in time.
Yeah, it feels a little too late, especially with that Bloodthirst already coming through. Hanabi now getting to work on this Chemtech Soul. It'll be the third dragon found by them. Only 5 minutes until it will be the fight over that soul. And Chiefs, what can they find in 5 minutes to enable them to win a fight? It feels like not a whole lot.
No.
Maybe third item Zaya, but...
At this point, they need to pick. They need to really pick off Cruscata or Mission and try and force something around the Baron afterwards.
Yeah. Kize, he's looking for it. Ooh.
Yeah, Mission has itemized extremely greedily. So, I mean, with this chain connecting, maybe there's a chance Kiwi should be able to land that Glacial Prison. Not in time. Mission flashes out of that, but it is an important cooldown that has gone down nonetheless. Teleport's coming through, and Cruscata slowly wailing away on the side. He's going to go through, pop that ult. It's already harder going down, though, and Cruscata's looking for Kiwi. Not the target he wants. Is Biopanther slowly trying to walk up and find something. Kiwi, Arctic Assault over the wall will mean the Zeri ult is now down. It's a 4v5 in favor now of Chiefs. As Teleport coming through from Mission. Does have Shockwave, does not have the flash. Ball goes over. He's looking for Kize on the side there, and it still is a 4v5, but crucial ultimates are down here. No Dominus.
I don't know if Chiefs can do this,
yeah,
though.
I'm not
Feels
sure
very
either.
desperate.
They're getting very, very low, and Cruscata Mission still full health. Hook lands there. It'll land onto Mission, and Biopanther's going crazy. He's found one. He's now looking for Cruscata, who's dipping and diving away, but Biopanther, he has the damage. It's a 700 gold shutdown found by him, and now Orca is trying to run with his life. He's going to force out that flash, and somehow Chiefs, with the hook of Aladoric, find the team fight win.
They get some much-needed kills, some gold in their pockets, a 7-1 Renekton here, completes the Spirit Visage. And importantly, while they didn't manage to get that Baron, they got shutdowns and they got sums as well. There's no flash on Mission and nothing on Cruscata either. So we'll take a look at how this started. And I feel like this very split fight does somewhat favor Chiefs, where they can just kind of look for picks and find poke without just having a straight-up 5v5 battle line. I think the Rakanot being used just on Kize felt pretty bad. And you can see here, Cruscata, without those tanks in front of him, has a bit harder of a time DPSing. And ultimately, that's kind of what led this fight to falling apart to begin with. I hope we get to see the later part of the fight, because I think Hanabi really mis-executed at this point. I feel like if you're DCG, all you need to do, play around your Zeri and your Orianna, and you're going to win the front and back, right? The Chiefs are so hard committed, but for some reason, Hanabi just ends up splitting away. I guess he's trying to find a flank. He does cancel Kize's recall, but you'll see the Aatrox not being in front of them means it's just so hard. And Hanabi spends the whole fight walking behind the Baron pit. I have to feel like it's really mis-executed from him, and that allows Biopanther to just clean house.
Absolutely. 7-1 on the Croc. The unfortunate thing is no one else has any kills. We come back to live. It's the Baron started up by DCG. Full health bars everywhere around the map, and then maybe they're just trying to force out Kize's teleport, but at least for the time being, Chiefs maintaining steel hands. They're going to use the teleport now, and is there going to be a disengagement? It looks like they're actually engaging onto Biopanther. Biopanther's quite strong. He is staying alive. He's healing up. Featherstorm comes through. Orca getting absolutely annihilated, but it's Raze who might just go down first. A lot of CC onto Hanabi, though, as Biopanther is 1v4. He's found one. He's finding so much on the Croc. The 7-1 Croc is trying to get it done. Orca should not be long for this world, as we see Kize as well as Kiwi on the flank. There's 3 members being herded all together, and we're seeing the healing coming out of Biopanther. He's staying alive despite all of these things towards him. There's another kill. It's going to go over to Kiwi. And now it's just a clean house here, a clean ace for the Chiefs. And now they turn their attention towards this Baron and should be able to pick it up.
They are somehow doing it. Fights that you'd have to feel Chiefs have no business winning, really, but just an insane performance from Biopanther. 8,200 damage there on the Renekton. And Cruscata, he did get hooked in that fight, importantly. Did not have the flash available. And while he didn't die immediately off it, it put him in such a bad position. And maybe now, when you're looking at these fights, this is where you definitely start to question Mission's itemization, right? If you have something like the Leandries in the Void, looks so different. But I think in this fight, just keep your eyes on Cruscata, because they turn on the Biopanther and everything's looking good. But as he dashes in, I believe, gets cancelled there by Aladoric. And so Orca's forced away to try and peel for him, which he does a pretty good job of. But Biopanther is just running these dudes.
This is exactly the sort of fight that we talked about, Shock. Biopanther gets the flank, he collapses in on DCG, he squishes that team together, they kill Cruscata first, they even get through that stopwatch of his and come away with the team fight win.
They do, and it's a lot burned. You know, you mentioned the stopwatch now sold, of course, for Cruscata. And you wonder, while there will be sums coming up for DCG in the near future, they won't have it just yet. And so Chiefs, they buy themselves more than a lifeline, really. They're ahead at this point.
Yeah.
Especially with Xayah now getting some relevant items, and LeBlanc scaling, you have to feel, has probably outscaled the Orianna by this point, especially with the itemization. And this Dragon, it is Dragon Soul for DCG, but I don't think they'll be able to get to it. Probably just want to keep clearing the waves, wait for their sums to come back up. It still is anyone's game, I think, at this point, but you'd have to say it's Chiefs favored. And this is something we've seen from DCG many, many times. You know, getting into winning positions and just throwing time and time again, or mis-executing team fights in big ways. It costs them. And you know, you mentioned, Ben, or before the cast, that the Cruscata, he's got the highest DPM of any ADC, but he doesn't have that kind of X factor. You know, I can't imagine Betty losing those sort of team fights.
Yeah. No, that's true. And I think, as we all sort of said before the cast, is DCG kind of are their own lost con. And we're kind of seeing it again here in this game, where Mission did a really good job early game, honestly, weathering the storm of that LeBlanc. But now his itemization is leaving him, honestly, to be outscaled. The team composition as a whole is suffering because Mission's gone so heavy into early game. Even picking up the Void Staff. He has 3 pen items. And now, yes, he is going to have to get that because of the amount of magic damage coming through from his team. It feels like with the Leandries, maybe even cooldown boots, but ultimately the Mercs, would have felt a whole lot easier to play this game. And look at Biopanther, he's just standing in the middle, not going to let anything happening. Glacial Prison goes out, finds Hanabi, and the hook does as well. World Ender going to be used here, and Raze is wailing on them, but not before Hanabi gets his first reset, and Biopanther's now alone in that pit. Kize does jump over, but it's Cruscata who will confirm that kill onto the Croc, and now Raze, he does use that Featherstorm, really good timing. They're going to find the kill there onto Hanabi, but it's 2v4. Raze trying to kite out, he's done a pretty good job of it, but now it's going to be just one more proc of that anything, and it will be. Raze goes down, all of his sums, the ult used. Kize, though, might just find the kill here onto Orca.
Wow. Actually didn't get him. I think the Orange Shield might have come through in time. I'm not too sure, but that was an incredible team fight from Raze. Put out 8,000 damage, but ultimately it wasn't enough. And I think Cruscata got the Renekton shut down. I'm not too sure who it went over, but that feels pretty big. We're going to replay because now Mission had already used ults and Raze had just lifestealed to full. So you're feeling that this is a guaranteed win for Chiefs because DCG just don't have a lot of their damage there. But overextend a bit too far, the Nature's Grasp finds a lot and flash forward from Bio. But yeah, Kize, he can't follow up on it. Cruscata's able to get away now. I think he used both sums, so it could be a window in the next fight. But that's what allowed DCG just to completely run down the rest of this team fight.
I think what we really saw there, Shock, was the difference between a front-to-back team fight for the Chiefs and one where the Renekton comes in on the flank angle.
It's probably true. And that's a big shutdown, actually, that went to Mission as well. You grabbed 950 gold there, and you can't really ask for much more from Raze in that fight. I think he really did his best. But Mission, he's working towards the Rabadons, and a lot of items now picked up for Cruscata. I feel like he was... How much gold did he get off that fight?
Not sure, but
I guess he was sitting on some.
Yeah.
Regardless, on the back of that that Baron power play, the Chiefs are now up almost 2,000 gold. They've knocked down a bunch of towers from DCG. They've really pulled themselves back into the game with that one.
They've got a rapid fire on the Xayah too, as well as a stopwatch. That Xayah's going to be really hard to kill in that next fight. And next fight could be a big one. You know, just a minute away on the Baron, and then 2 minutes on that 4th drag win condition for DCG, one that I'm sure they will want to fight. And Hanabi, he's got himself the Cyrildas now, which adds a lot of power to him, but he's been pretty invisible this game, you'd have to say. Hasn't really added too much, and it's been Biopanther just running over the top lane. I think eyes for me on Cruscata in that next fight. Ooh.
Flash, oh.
Close.
Very,
That's big,
very
though.
close.
I feel like the more tools you have to kill Cascada in this next fight while he doesn't have sums, the better. And that's just one more missing. You know, you don't have the Blitz Flash or the Renekton Flash. Feels like the two big ones. Still, though, if you can find a way onto him, would go a long way. Orca picks up the chains. I wonder who those are going on. Maybe just the Xayah at this point?
Yeah. I'd imagine it'd be the Xayah, right? But, I mean, maybe it's even on the Renekton to try and CC him up a little bit longer, but that feels a little bit weird. Probably on the Xayah. It isn't the easiest, honestly, to land CC on the Xayah, because you can stay at a further away range, especially now that the rapid fire cannon has come through. And if you try and get onto it too close, you can just use that Feather Storm and avoid all CC altogether. But we'll see. Is it going to find any real usage? It looks like Frozen Heart's trying to be built here by Aladoric on the Blitzcrank.
Is that a Morale Nomicon coming out of the Maokai?
The Maokai, yeah, looks like it. It's honestly probably a good choice at this point. There's no real other healing reduction to speak of, and it's not that easy to get it. Baron is now live, and this is the point where a single death would just mean the objective going over, and I also think a teamfight victory would pretty much just pick up the game for either team here, especially for the Chiefs who have that top inhib already available to them.
Yeah.
And this has started up. This is going to be split, though, for Chiefs, which is maybe what they want.
Yeah, Kize is recalling. He's got a flank teleport there, and he's looking for it as Biopanther's engaged on again. He's going to pop that Dominus just in time, and he's finding a lot of healing coming out here from those empowered Qs. They do pick up the Baron in the meantime, and that Steric's shield is massive. It's going to be Mission who goes down first. It's this big team fight here for Chiefs, and Raze finally joins it. Cascada, though, pops that ultimate, and now it's the battle of the AD carries, perhaps. Hanabi, though, oh my god, heals back to full, but the hook lands there onto Orca. It's Hanabi and Cascada versus the world. Only Kize going down, and with that, it feels like Chiefs have picked up the victory, should be able to disengage, have the Baron as well, and maybe look towards this Dragon.
Yeah, I think they can get the Dragon. Not sure how Kize died. I think he just got taken out by Cascada. Maybe it's not over.
Okay.
Does get out. I really want to see a replay of that, though, because it felt like Biopanther was being hit for so long there, but Cascada just wasn't there or something? He didn't have the DPS.
Are they just looking to end?
They might try.
There's 10 seconds on mission,
into the Shiv, though.
It's probably just going to be in her back to the Dragon, I feel.
Yep.
I think that's the smart decision. Oh!
I wonder if Renekton can just do the Dragon. That's what it looks like here. Cascada might chase, though. He's got a GA. He's got both sums. TP coming in as well.
Yeah, that's going to be Hanabi. As Mission, actually. Mission looking for it. Aladoric very low. Biopanther is coming up here. Does have Dominus as well as Flash, and it's the Lux ult coming out of that Zeri, who will secure at least one kill onto Aladoric, who does back. Ooh, but this is going to be the Dragon almost certainly.
Yeah, that's a big deal, right? They overextend a bit for that mid inhib, and they die on the way out. And the mid inhib ultimately is not that important. They thought they could get both.
This is the soul for DCG.
That's a nice pickup for sure. And Gold lead, while it does heavily favor Chiefs at this point, Gold's not super relevant, especially with the soul coming in as well. Mission gets closer towards that death cap, and so much just happened that I'm not sure what we're going to get a replay of, but for me, I really hope it is that initial Baron, because Biopanther lived for so long, and I think, you know, of course you look at Mission's build, but Cascada, I'm not sure where he was all that time. Maybe we won't even get a replay of it, though. There's just so much going on. Chiefs definitely putting their best foot forward, though.
One thing I want to comment on in this game is that quite often we see, well, almost exclusively, it's the Abyssal Mask that's picked up by these top laners for the MR. But I think on the Renekton, when you have the Gourd Drinker, when you have that empowered Q, it feels pretty nice having the extra damage, the extra healing coming through from the Spirit Visage. And we also saw how big his shield was from that Sterix. Again, empowered from that Spirit Visage, which it feels like pretty smart itemization considering what Biopanther's job is in these team fights, which is mainly just delay for damage to come through. Although he did put up like 8k damage himself in that fight, so it's not entirely true, but I like the itemization coming through from Biopanther here. And Kize getting quite heavily chunked there. They're looking towards their second inhib. Biopanther buffing up the mid wave. It's going to be pretty hard for TCD to deal with. Nature's Grass comes out, but it only connects onto Kevi for now. Raze on the top side, but he's not any threat, and Kize continuously jumping forward, looking for Shiv procs, looking for Night Harvester procs. Actually gets caught again by one of these extremely powerful Zeri Ws, and off that, likely to have to recall.
They did get the top inhib, though, which I think is a pretty big win, because it's going to mean that contesting that Elder is a little bit more difficult for DCG, although the inhib will be spawning basically as the inhib spawns, so probably won't be a big deal. Now the Death Cap picked up from Mission, so that's a lot of extra AP, a lot of damage that comes forward. Because they're going for the Shadow Flame is a little strange, but I suppose it is no MR. You normally see just a Death Cap built at this point, but I wonder if he just felt like the game was going to end before that point.
Oh, there is no boots now on Chris Carter, picking up that Mercurial Scimitar, so
that's
not only the cleanse, but also the QSS now to try and burn through. Raze ultimately is also full build though. I almost expect that you just keep your boots if you're Raze here. There's so much that you need to dodge out of, especially the likes of the Rakan, the Orianna, and the Aatrox. It might just feel better to have that extra movement speed coming through. Aladoric though feels like he's got his own pathway here. Shouldn't be known where this guy is. He might look for a hook onto Hana. He'll be spotted out by the sapling. Does not land with that rocket grab, unfortunately. But now, attention now going towards this bot lane inhib tower. A lot of damage coming through from Kizay. Aladoric flashing away. Does land the hook here onto Orca, who will instantly pop the ult, but not before going down. Raze picking that one up for himself. It's a 4v5. Only one inhibitor remaining. And while it is the soul available here for DCG, down a whole member, Chiefs might just have what it takes to pick up the win here. We see Biopanther pushing this mid wave. Does have the teleport to join if need be. Nature's Grass comes in. Going to mean that this first wave at least is cleared. They only have 30 seconds to wait until their Rakan is back up. Twitch Advance comes through, but it's baited. Kevi with the great Arctic Assault will bring Hana into his team. And it's 3 members of DCG. They're getting herded like sheep as Biopanther comes in from behind. And the hook from Aladoric. This guy's got aim assist and he picks up another one for the team. It should be the team fight win here for Chiefs. They're doubling their wins in the PCS as they take game 1 against DCG.
Wow, and what a way to win that game too. It felt like there was a point where Chiefs were almost completely out of the game, but they turned it around, and so much of that was off the back of Biopanther, who put in just a legendary performance in the top lane at 10, 2, and 7 on the Renekton. And you've got to feel really